time not to today. I'm making time not to ignore it today. And I'm sorry to council for that interruption, but I think that sometimes bullshit needs to be called out for what it is.
Forever rolling. Judge. Instrumental murderer. You already know what time it is. Gangway. We the team. For sure. Look. I've been really trying to get it, but them people got their handle in my business. Let's go. People say I need to listen, but the way I be too busy flipping, gotta change the way I'm living. Plus, these enemies ain't no friends to me. They Hennessy, get them froggy, they gon' rest in peace. They testing me, pray to God that they let me be. My family need a leader, so I'm staying free. Keep it legal, I spit the leaf flows. 36 can play the game just like Otebo. Just follow me though, just let the streets know. Jersey master with the craft, know he keep the heat though. I'm talking candles, put that name on the mantle, I dismantle all your squad, pick apart, leave them all examples. Them coppers be taking samples, nothing left.
Mr. Mayor, John King, 203 3rd Street here in the city. I would like to speak about, I sent the letter earlier today to the council, so I'll read part of it and ad-lib with some notes. There are a lot of lies and nonsense told during the so-called homeless political event, not sponsored by the city, but heavily supported by the city, such as with the city center, social media, and the event being televised by JTV through the city's YouTube channel. I was very surprised when I first saw the promotion of this event that Steve Castle was going to be on the panel of so-called experts. I was not surprised he did not attend. Then I mentioned like Justin Counts with the Community Action Agency, another person on the panel who had spent time behind bars that
But I do just want to make this comment. I remember my grandfather, who was an Air Force veteran, who owned his home in New Jersey, where we have the highest cost of living, almost compared to almost any place around the country. But he told me, back in the 70s, 2 people working at McDonald's could afford to buy a home. 2 people working at McDonald's cannot purchase a 100 home for $197,000. 2 people at McDonald's can't get a traditional mortgage nowadays. 2 people at McDonald's can't even afford to rent the workforce development housing behind the hospital. You have to make 3 to 4 times the amount of rent. So collectively, 2 people at McDonald's would not be able to even rent a home. So affordability has to start by the income levels of the population. As a case manager, I got to learn the average median income in our town and to see how low it is for people that live on the south side of our community. So in order to have an equitable community, we need to have housing that matches the income of the population. And we know that everyone on the south side doesn't make the same county income, the $50,000 or whatever that the county makes. So we need to have more houses that are affordable for the people in that area.
Welcome to another edition of the Community Soldier Podcast. I know it's been a minute, but I'm back. Are we ready for all the smoke like we always do, man? You know how we do, man. Sadly, we got to address things that get said out in the public. But it is what it is, man. For those that didn't catch it in the beginning, we're just talking about the city council meeting last night. If you haven't watched it, I suggest that you go watch it on the city's YouTube page. You can find it posted on my page. Also, you can just type in City of Jackson, City Council, and you'll see it's the last meeting. There was a lot of interesting things that happened during the public comment, especially. Still a lot of misinformation being spread around. And that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this, because like for some reason, one of the main comments that kind of threw me was in the beginning how he spoke about the so-called experts that were in the panel. And that threw me off because he mentioned
Mr. Mayor, John King, 203 3rd Street here in the city. I would like to speak about, sent the letter earlier today to the council, so I'll read part of it and ad-lib with some notes. There were a lot of lies and nonsense told during the so-called homeless political event, not sponsored by the city, but heavily supported by the city, such as with the city center, social media, and the event being televised by JTV through the city's YouTube channel. I was very surprised when I first saw the promotion of this event that Steve Castle was going to be on the panel of so-called experts. I was not surprised he did not attend. Then I mentioned like Justin Counts with the Community Action Agency, another person on the panel who had spent time behind bars that
yeah. So first of all, what does me having been to prison, spent that time behind bars have to do with me being on the panel as an expert? That was one thing that took me off, as to say someone who has been to prison can't be an expert on homelessness. That's almost like an asinine statement. You know what I'm saying? Because if you can't see the correlations of how the two can go together, that's kind of crazy. But second, to discredit the panel, the expert panel that they had up there, to me, that was crazy. He directly mentions several names of people that have been doing this work for more than 20 years. For more than 20 years, they've been out here fighting the same fight in homelessness and trying to end homelessness. This has been a fight that we've been fighting for years. And it was one of the main comments that I mentioned. So first, I'm just going to play the comment so that we can get right into dispelling some of the things that I heard.
the day before the event, they go to candidate for Mayor John Wilson's Facebook page and called him racist because he doesn't want, all kinds of money just being thrown away with Residents in Action and other groups. There was a so-called expert, Laura Reum, with the Community Action Agency that said illegal drug usage among the so-called homeless is not very common.
First of all, back up. What did he say here?
Action Agency that said illegal drug usage was a so-called expert groups. There was a so-called expert, Laura Reum, with the Community Action Agency
Someone that has over 20 years experience in homeless, he calls a so-called expert. Someone that has over 20 years of experience in the field, that's been out here, that I personally have done numerous pit counts with. Pit counts, for you that don't know what that is, once a year, every year, we people that are a part of the horror, the continuum of care, a lot of nonprofits around town, every year we go out and we actually do a physical count of homeless people that we find on the streets, as well as checking our numbers of the recorded homeless people that we have encountered throughout the year. And what that does is it helps us to submit to the government, which tells the government how much funding we need for our area for homeless. And it's something that we do every year. And let me tell you, we wake up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to do this. And we do this in the wintertime when it's cold. So you have case managers, little ladies walking in the dark, with flashlights, going through encampments, places that we know that people sleep, all the different places, and making sure that we count every single person that we find, right? We've done this for years. This man has never been there. The people that comment, the people that have the most to say, I've never seen them at any type of thing like this. I've never seen them anywhere around where there's real action being done. Only places and spaces where they allow people to talk is where you see these people, online or during public comments like this. But I digress. Let's continue.
Illegal drug usage among the so-called homeless is not very common. That's not true. It is very common. A high percentage of the so-called homeless have illegal drug and alcohol abuse issues. I can tell that just by lived experience.
That's not what she said, first of all. Her comment, which you can go back and watch the video. We can all watch the video if we need to. But her comment was, the question, first of all, was, what are some of the most common misconceptions when dealing with people that are unhoused, right? And she mentioned that not every person that is unhoused is a drug addict. Not every person that is unhoused is suffering from mental illness. Not every person. She didn't say no one. She didn't say nobody. She didn't say that. She said a misconception is that not all, which was also shown in my personal testimony with myself in the very beginning, where I mentioned how even a person who doesn't use drugs, who doesn't have mental illness, that's not suffering from mental illness, that goes to work, that works multiple jobs, that owns a business, a person like that can still suffer and end up being unhoused. And it's because of multiple situations. It's because of multiple factors. It's because of many different things. And it's always not just one cookie cutter thing where we can just say, this is what is happening and this is why. You can't say that. And this is the same exact mindset, the same stigma that I was trying to fight during the Reed Manor fire situation, where all of you guys were online on Facebook, on the scanner site, and you were all saying the same thing, that these were drug addicts, that these were mentally ill people. And I had to come online and check y'all because they're not all the same. Everyone is not the same. It's not the same thing. And when it comes to homelessness, especially in our country, this has been a problem that we've been seeing for years, generations upon generations upon generations. Skid Row has always been a thing since I was young. It's always been a thing. It may not have been as always prevalent in Jackson the way we see it today, but that's because we had other systems in place. That's because we had other things in place to help ease the situation. And the reason why you're not seeing it, you're seeing it more now than you used to see it before, was because before they tore the houses down, first of all, let's go back before Dobies was in office and we still had houses up on the south side and our neighborhoods didn't look Swiss cheese. We had some houses that wasn't the greatest condition. Yes, I'll be the first one to admit. But knowing what I know now, those houses that weren't the greatest conditions, guess what? Landlords would let you rent a one bedroom for $350 a month, studio apartment. You up out of there. $500 a month, one bedroom. Two bedrooms, $600 a month. And them apartments, while not being the greatest, people on subsidized incomes, disability, they were able to afford those places. And they were able to hold those places down. Sometimes you would see they would double up 2 or 3 in the spot, but they would make it work and they would make it happen, right? Now that we don't have as many of those units available, right, you're seeing more and more people having to either make do with what they have, which is either sleep and stay with whoever they can, sleeping on couch to couch to couch, or you see people, some choose to sleep in their vehicles, and then you have another group that choose to sleep outside, right? But we're only talking about the people that are outside, because at the end of the day, that's all they care about. At the end of the day, this is my thoughts on the whole ordinance that they're creating, the whole thing that the city is doing. Well, I'll speak on that later. We'll get on that later. Let's just finish on the just dispelling some of the negative things that were said.
If I may borrow the term
Let's keep
from
on that.
them, with needle syringes I have been picking up for decades.
Yes,
The library staff had to pick them up during the encampment that was
that's a
out
fact.
front, the last couple of months.
That's a fact, but not all
One
of them are doing
expert
that.
on the topic, Michael Schellenberger, has been very involved with the issue for decades. In one article of his, he mentions the evidence is overwhelming that the majority of people on the street are there because of untreated mental illness and addiction, which leads people to use all their money to support their drug habit and be high rather than work.
Another contradiction. So if mental illness, if what he's saying is true, right? If mental illness is the cause of people turning to addiction, right? And further, he says, causing them not to be able to work. If it's mental illness, right? Then even without the drugs, if you remove the drugs from the equation, let's just remove the drugs from the equation. If it's just mental health, would they still have the capacity to go to work? That's what you have to ask yourself. Would they still have the capacity to go to work? And also, would you want to work next to him? Would you want to hire him or her? Just be real with yourself. See, we have a problem in our country today that y'all don't want to recognize. The real problem is the mental health is a problem. Yes, it's been a problem. It's been a problem that no one wants to address. We don't want to address the real elephant in the room. Yes, there is a mental health problem, but that's not all the problem. But it's part of the problem. It's part of it. And that's why it's not going to be solved in one day. That's why it's not going to be solved overnight by just one system alone. Because even if you did solve the mental health problem, there would still be people that are unhoused because of other situations, because of other circumstances. Everyone isn't out there because of mental illness and drugs. Yes, that may be a case, a majority of them. Yes. But guess what? The med line in prison is just as long as the chow line for lunch. The med line in prison, right? You know what that tells me? That tells me that we don't solve our mental illness problem, that we criminalize it. We lock them up. We throw them away. And then when they get out on the street and they can't survive and they can't be successful, we say, well, what's wrong with you? Why don't you just go to work? Why don't you just go to work? When we're not understanding the severity of the mental illness situations that we facing right now. We have people that are suffering from severe PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome, whether it's from childhood trauma, whether it's from post-incarceration syndrome, from being incarcerated, whether it's from being in war. We have major wars, right? Major wars. Veterans that just left to deal with their whole little mental health situation, right? You had Vietnam, you had the war in Iraq, Afghanistan, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and now we have this war now where we at now. Kids having to do crazy stuff and then come back home and then deal with that mental all on their own, right? With limited help, limited resources. And we expecting people to just get up and go to work, man. You'll be all right. Don't worry about them voices in your head that's telling you smack the crap out your boss. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the fact that you've never had a job your whole life because you've been on assistance your whole life. I had to mention that to somebody, like especially in our community. We all know the mother who had children who had to put their children on the system, right? Because she's seeing that they wasn't ready. They wasn't mentally where it was at, right? So they got Social Security. Them kids, we put them on Social Security. Now them kids is adults. They adults, they grown. They've been getting SSI checks their whole life. Their whole life. They've never had to work because they've been deemed by the state as disabled, not able to work. And where we're looking at someone who we think is able-bodied, because we see, oh, that's a strong young man. That's a strong woman. Why can't you get up and go to work? But you don't know that this person been on SSI their whole life. Their whole life. And what does that mean? That means you get $962 a month. That means you get $962 a month. So where do you live with $962 a month? You have to live at a housing complex like the Reed Manor. You have to live in somewhere like Ashton Ridge, Blair Park, somewhere that has a subsidized unit that will subsidize the rest of your income, right? If you mess up one of those units, the chances of you getting another one are slim to none. Anyone can tell you that. So that whole idea, that whole like rhetoric of if they weren't using drugs, they can go to work. I had a client once who never had a job, and it was because of trauma, childhood trauma. She was SA'd her whole life in the military, SA'd in the military. The only job she ever had, couldn't successfully complete that because of the trauma of other people doing to her, and got kicked out of the military and come home not successful. And then how is it that you integrate back to society now when you're suffering from this trauma, you suffering from all of these things that no one can help you with, no one wants to talk about, because how many women have to go through getting SA'd and then have to deal with all of that alone because they scared, because either they live with their victimizer or because the person is in their family and they told they can't say nothing, or because of unequal power dynamics. How many women have to deal with that on their own? Can't say nothing. Right? So this woman, when I met her, she's in her 30s. She never had a job. And I understood immediately that there was no way in the world that she would be able to have a job. She couldn't stay on focus for more than 5 minutes at a time. So I know if she did have a job, she would have to have an employer with extreme understanding of people and what can happen to people. Because that's a person that would need a little bit more equity. You're going to have to give that person more breaks. You have to have more understanding that they don't have the people skills. They don't have the interpersonal skills to really blend in with people. You got to give them projects with clear instructions. They need an equitable boss in order for that situation to work. And most people don't give you that consideration. Most people will never give you that consideration. They're just going to look at you like you're dumb. They're just going to look at you like you're slow, and they're going to push on because they don't care. That's just the facts. So this is why a person in that situation would never be able to go to work. So to tell a person like that, like, oh, all you need to do is to stop using drugs and this, that, and you'll be able to get a job and go to work, that will not solve the problem. Especially when we mention what the problem is from the experts, the people who have knowledge of being out there in the field, actually being out there doing the work. The people who say don't know what they're talking about.
A thing that's been concerning me was Ryan Tarrant at that event, and I had seen some pictures, so I'm thinking he's promoting residents in action and that nonsense. He's the president and CEO of the Jackson Chamber. He got the National Chamber of the Year award by blowing smoke, I guess. The chamber his job is business and visitors. You know, he's got one job to do, and with a punitive parking plan, he really screwed the pooch on that. And we're going to have him now push this nonsense. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That's just funny, man. I ain't gonna disagree about the parking, because the parking is a real thing, but this homeless issue is not nonsense, and it's stuff that we really gotta put some attention to. But if you don't want to talk about the real issues that are going on that are causing people to become homeless, and I mentioned some of those, y'all got to go back and watch it. Like, go back and watch the video. Let me show y'all some clips or something, but y'all got to go back and watch the video and see, what we were saying, because a lot of it, man, it tells you exactly directly what's going on and what we feel the problems are. But when people don't want to listen, I mean, you get stuck with what we get stuck with. Let me play y'all a clip of what the CEO, the executive director from Community Action Agency, what she had to say.
Yeah. Okay. So typically, like from the definitions, housing is affordable if you pay no more than 30% of your income for housing, right? And so think about a lot of our, like, what is the poverty level for a single person? Like, I don't know, 10,000? I don't have the numbers officially off the top of my head. If it is 10,000, so that person's affordable housing is $300 a month. Anybody around here renting a one-bedroom apartment in Jackson for $300 a month?
Problem. That's the problem, right? That's the problem. So even if we were able to get everyone a voucher, right? Everybody that was out there on the street, if we were able to convince MISTA, the government, that's the government that handles the vouchers. The Section 8 vouchers is now called the Housing Choice Voucher Program, and it's ran by MISTA. In order to get MISTA to unlock those vouchers, first of all, we have to fill out the census. Like, we don't talk about that. Like, especially people in poverty. When we get those little things in the mail that says we have to be counted, like, we get scared. We don't want to do it. We think it's some kind of scam and stuff, but we have to get counted. That's how we get access to funding. But the government only gets access to what's going on in our local towns when we report these things. So when we do the PIC counts every year, when people actually report on their homelessness, that's how the numbers get counted. And that's what tells organizations, and that's what tells the government, HUD specifically, how many vouchers a particular town needs, like Jackson. So if people are not going to the shelter, if people are not communicating with Community Action Agency, they're not getting counted as homeless. And the way HUD defines homelessness, if you're sleeping on someone's couch, they don't consider you homeless. So a lot of people don't get counted because of that alone. But the other things, a lot of our people will not go to the shelter. There's a stigma with going to the shelter. So with us not going to the shelter, we're not getting counted as being homeless. And because we're not being counted as being homeless, we're not getting the vouchers that we need to supply the homeless population in our town, in our city. So, but even if we did, let's just say, even if we did have somehow 300 vouchers, right, to put people in housing, right? Like she said, we don't have the one-bedroom apartments that somebody's going to rent to us for $300 a month. We don't have that. We don't have the one-bedroom apartments that somebody's going to rent to us for $1,000 a month. We don't have that. We have a few one-bedroom apartments that someone will rent to us for $1,000 or less, which will be HUD standards, right? And there's only a few of those. Out of those, there's only a small percentage of that few that will accept a voucher. So some things is just absolutely out of our control.
It's not subsidized? Absolutely not. So that is what is considered affordable. What we have going in a lot around the city of Jackson is low-income housing tax credit units. And those typically, depending on the development, are for people at 60% area median income. right? So you have to meet that income, so 60% area median income. And those affordable housing units unless they have a subsidized unit, the rent is typically not based on your income, right? They're lower rents, but they're not income-based rents. And so for the most part, if you're in a low-income housing tax credit unit, most often those are very close to fair market rents. And most people, if you're living in a low-income household, can't afford that unless you have a housing choice voucher, you're on Section 8, which is a subsidy, or if a unit has what we call a project-based voucher. So, for example, now I can talk about Andy's Place. Andy's Place is a housing complex over by the Westwood Mall that is Recovery Housing. Community Action Agency is part owner of Andy's Place. Every unit at Andy's Place has a project-based voucher so that it is affordable housing. Not all units who do low-income housing tax credits have vouchers to make them affordable. It's a lot, I know. It's very hard to explain. Sorry.
Is Andy's Place at capacity?
Yeah, so the other thing Andy's Place is not is a shelter. Andy's Place is recovery housing, but not in the way that recovery communities consider recovery housing, right? It is independent, individual apartments that people are referred to either through adult treatment court, or our second building is referrals through our community substance use providers, like our SUD providers, substance use disorder providers. So you have to get a referral to go there, and we have a waiting list at this point in time.
Thank you, Toby.
Yep.
Yeah, man. So basically, there's not going to be just one cookie cutter formula to solve all of this. And I think they asked that at the end. One of the questions, I think she asked, let me see if I can find it here.
Restrictions, or what we thought were restrictions, and really being able to help people and meet their needs. So thank you for going back to the table and revisiting and saying,
There you go.
All right.
wait,
Yeah.
now wait a minute. We're not gonna let that slide. Winter is coming, and that's the only answer that we got from this panel. I'm gonna need some more people to say a couple more things, because that's not gonna help us move forward.
The sad reality is this isn't a problem that we're not going to be able to solve overnight. As a case manager, I've gone out to encampment after encampment after encampment for many years. This is only a hot topic right now because we've seen them in the library. But every year we do a homeless pit count, and every year we find people sleeping outside. Every night we drive past people in the Myers parking lot. I know all of you do. And you see someone sleeping in their car at Myers, at Walmart, at all these different stores. I was just at a U-Haul storage unit, and I'm almost sure that there are people who might be sleeping in there. So this is not a problem that is just happening, so it's not going to be something that we're going to solve now. So what can we do? What we can. A lot of us don't have funding. A lot of us don't have enough funding. A lot of us don't have enough resources. So what we're left to do is what we can. We raise money. We're working Jackson Strength Network. We work with the National Lifers Association from Coldwater. And I have men that are in prison, and they don't do anything but knit hats and gloves for us to give away to people that are unhoused. So that's the small things that we can do. We can raise money to pay for homeless kids that can help them survive, giving them the tools that they need. It's just like what we do with Home and New Vision, with our harm reduction program. Sometimes the best thing that we can do is give them the tools that they need to survive until we can get them housing. Because we don't control the government. We don't control how many housing choice vouchers that they release. We know that we don't control the landlords that tell us whether or not they will accept one of our tenants or not. And we know we don't control the affordable housing or any other resources that are around. So the things that we can control, we do. And we do by just trying to fill the gaps by as much as possible. These are people that have built up amazing resiliency, and they've been surviving, and they will continue to survive with the community's help. That means we have to open our doors for warming centers when it's really cold. That means we have to have free meals available for people so that they can eat. That means that we have to have transportation to services, and we have to be equitable in how we offer those services, knowing that everyone doesn't have the ability to get to our door.
Yeah. Simple. We make it harder than what it has to be, but it's simple. It's really simple. So for the people that want to rage bait, and use social media for attention, like our friend in the beginning of the video, that don't really understand what's going on and don't really understand what the problem is. As long as we have a system called capitalism, and as long as we entertain corporate greed and oligarchs, we're going to always have this problem. Because, see, to become rich and truly wealthy, the only way you can do that is off the back of a working person. It's just facts. You need the backs of a lot of working people in order to become a millionaire or a billionaire in this country. And because of that, we have this American dream. This American dream says that if I work hard enough, that I can have. And I need to focus on me and my family. And because it's that way, we forget what God told us to do. We forget what Jesus said: feed my sheep, clothe my sheep. We forget what he said. Because of capitalism. Because who don't want to make more money, right? Who don't want to take care of their family? Who don't want to make sure that their generations can have forever? Well, in order to do that, you got to walk past the person sleeping on the street. In order to do that, you got to drive past the lady sitting on her walker at the entrance of Dollar General. You got to drive past her. Because you can't afford to take from you and your family and your kids and give it to somebody else. Because that's not the system that we live under, capitalism. It won't be until we come up with something new that I think that this problem will change. We have to figure out a way to give everyone the basic freedoms and liberties that they deserve. If we truly gonna be like a leading country that promotes freedom and equity, we got to start really thinking about those principles, and start really thinking about the things that we're doing as a society, and really start fighting back and advocating on true freedom. Because God designed for you to be truly free. He gave you everything that you needed to survive. Water was already here. No man invented that. Food, all of the food God gave us for free. He didn't charge us. Shelter, he gave you a brain so you could figure that out too. Strong men to build those things. But yet now we live in a society where nothing's free. It costs money to live. It costs money to be born. It costs money to die. That's what society is today. So as long as we stuck under a system like this, we're always going to have homeless. Because in order to have a winner, you have to have a loser. You have to have a loser. This is why every commercial that you see nowadays is built upon and based upon the destruction of somebody else. DraftKings, casinos, sports betting, pills, everything designed to destroy you, keep you broke. That's what they push to us. That's what they push to us. You may not be sleeping on the street, but you check the check. You ain't even check the check. You check the Sunday. Because some of us getting paid on Thursday and we broke by Sunday. Right? So how are we any different than the person sleeping on the street? How are we any better? Because we got checked today. If they close the doors on your job, will you be able to survive? How long will that 401k last? I know mine ain't last that long. How long will it last? How long will you be good if they close the doors on your job? AI is coming for us all. AI is already smarter than you. It can be a receptionist. So we don't need you to answer your phones no more. Architects. You went to college for that. We don't need you to design our buildings no more. The AI is better than you already. Lawyers. Oh, you think because you went to law school that you safe? AI knows more than you do already. Already. You do taxes? Taxes? Oh, they got AI systems that can do taxes for you already. You work in administration? An AI robot will be replacing you soon because it don't need no breaks. It don't need no sick time. It can give policies and orientations. It can do onboardings all without you. So keep thinking that you're safe just because you got a job, just because you got a college education. We only one stone's throw away from being just like the people that we're talking about. And then you'll understand that not everybody on the street, not everybody homeless that's unhoused, not everybody is on drugs, not everybody got mental illness. Some people just going through messed up situations. Life. I've had people that were made homeless because of landlords. They ain't do nothing wrong. They paid their rent every month. But because they landlord didn't pay something or was a slumlord and didn't fix something, they lose their house. And guess what? Tenant becomes homeless even though they had perfect rental history. And because of these new restrictions, you got to make 3 times the amount of rent. Not many people can show they make $3,500 a month. Like, not many people can show that. My wife and I working together barely can show that. Barely. And I'd have to pull from everything that I have, everything that I own, every single thing in order to show that. So I understand, like, 2 people working at a factory can't show that. Especially with the place that they need to provide for the family that they have. 2 people with 3 children, right? You would need probably a 3-bedroom. How much is a 3-bedroom going for right now? $1,500? So you multiply that by 3. Multiply that by 3. You gotta show you damn near $5,000 a month. How many people working at a factory together can show that they make that? So what's gonna be the solution for people right now? We're gonna have to cohab, man. I've been saying this for years now, man. Especially as black folks, man. People in poverty and black folks. We gotta start cohabbing. We gotta train our children up. We don't have to let our children get up out the house at 18. Let's build them up. Let them leave with $5,000 stacked up in the bank. Let them leave with owning their own vehicle. Let them leave and then go right into purchasing their home. Let them leave the home the right way, fully prepared. And we have to deal with cohabiting for a while, because you're not going to be able to get approved by yourself. So all of that, I'm 18, I think I'm going to go get an apartment. No, stay home with your mom. If you live with your mama, y'all split the bills and y'all get y'all a better place together. Get y'all a better place together. So now y'all got a better place, be stress-free. Y'all go half on the food, half on the bills. We can manage better. This is how other races do it. I watch Hispanics. They do it. It'll be 15 of them in one home. And you see them at the Kroger's, together. They buying groceries together, and they all pulling out fat knots out their pockets, making minimum wage, because we know these people ain't paying them right, because they know they making minimum wage, but yet they got fat knots in their pocket because they got 15 people pitching in on the food. They got Sister Shirley. Sister Shirley, stay home, watch the kids. They got Mama Senorita. She gonna sit there and cook, do all the cleaning, make sure everything good for the men when they come home, right? And then the men gonna come in and they gonna pitch in on the rent, and even the women, because the women have jobs too. They pitch in on all of the expenses, making it easier, because now the load is not just on one person's back, right? And then when a person is ready to leave out of the nest, do you know in Mexican culture, it's a tradition. I think the parents, somebody that is of Mexican tradition and descent, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the tradition is that the father's family pays for the wedding. Is that how it goes? I believe the father's family pays for the wedding. And then not only do they pay for the wedding, they make sure that the family has some money to go into their new journey. Like, so they always have like money to buy a home, or they have money to do something seriously for when they start in their life as a family. Somebody, if you know, correct me, but I'm pretty sure it's something like that from what I was told. So they set each other up better, man. See, my kids ain't never leaving the home until they want. That's what I say. Stay home, man. Get your credit score up. Leave the house with perfect credit. Leave the house with 10,000 stacked in the bank, man. My dad told me once when I was young, and I never understood it until now. He said, because I remember asking for some expensive shoes or some clothes when I was young once. And I was like, Dad, can you buy me these jeans? Da, 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 da. They like $300. And he was like, what? I ain't spending no $300 jeans. And I'm like, man, why not? You got it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got it. My dad was a firefighter. I think he was making $2,000 checks in the 90s. You know, I'm like, you got it. And he was like, man, I'm broke. And I'm like, you ain't broke. You got money in the bank. He said, let me tell you something. He said, if I got $20,001, I'm broke. I said, what you mean? You got 20,000 in the bank and a dollar? He said, nah. He said, I got $1 in the bank account. He said, that 20,000, that's emergency funds. He said, cause see, any man should have enough emergency funds to cover 6 months worth of emergency. I said, what you mean? He said, well, with 20,000, I can pay the mortgage for 6 months. I can pay all of the bills. I ain't got to worry about nothing for 6 months at least. With this 20,000, and he said, that's emergency bread. He like, what if my car go out today and my car break down? I got money for a deposit, the down payment, or cash. I can cash me out a whole car if I need to. If something happened to the house, anything. He like, no matter what it is, I got this money to cover it. So it really like taught me something, about money a little bit. Like, And it's something that we don't teach enough. Like, we don't teach enough about finance. Because I thought, oh, you got 20,000, that's money. We can go do whatever we want. But in his mind, he's like, nah, 20,000. He knew 20,000 ain't nothing. That ain't no money. This ain't no money. And this is what we got to teach our people in order for us to not go to what we go through. But that's just part of it. Affordability is the biggest problem. Affordability, and the reason why it's not affordability leads you to the next problem, is the incomes versus wage growth versus the increase, the inflation, right? Wage growth versus inflation. That's our real problem. When my grandfather was young, he was born in the 30s. I remember all the time he used to be like, bread was 10 cents. A loaf of bread was 10 cents. A McDonald's cheeseburger was like 37 cents or something crazy when they were young. When they first came out, McDonald's was cheap. Food was cheap. A Ford F-150 was like $5,000 on the showroom floor. 5 bands. Just even in the 90s, in the 90s, a Ford F-150 off the showroom floor was $25,000. And that was high. That was looked at as high. Like, man, I paid 25 for this boy. That was high. 35, 25, that was high. Now, for that Ford F-150 off the showroom floor, it's $100,000. $100,000. And the wages have not changed. So the inflation, that's greed. It don't cost no more to make a truck than it did back then. It don't cost them more. The only thing that changed now is greed. Corporate greed. You have some making billions and billions and billions of dollars every single day, while others are working every single day for pennies. Some people go to work for $12 an hour. Some people go to work for $150 an hour. Right? So as long as we're under this system that we're under, you're always going to have someone who loses. You're always going to have someone who loses. You're always going to, because everything is designed to make money off the back of someone else. Everything. You don't have entrepreneurs without having a consumer, somebody to make money off of. You don't become a business owner without having someone to work for your business, to work for you, so you don't have to work. And the way our system is designed, the person who supplies the jobs makes the most money. So you have corporations and people making billions of dollars while the average person makes pennies. And these billionaires, they don't have to worry about sleeping outside, right? They don't have to worry about that. Why would they care? So they don't worry about policies that can help you. They leave that for y'all small-minded folks, for you small folks to figure it out. We the peasants. We are the peasants, right? They are the kings that enslave us all. Because no matter what social class, what social status you in right now, whether it's poverty, middle class, upper middle class, or even rich, at the end of the day, what you have can be taken away from you within the blink of an eye. Some people have more money, which gives them more cushion, so they feel safer. But that's a false reality. That's a false reality. But even them, everything can be taken away. Even them, everything can be taken away. We are the peasants, but we have the power. We have the power, but what they did was they tricked us into giving away the rights. They tricked us into signing our rights away. Actually, they tricked us into not utilizing the power that we do have. Like the power we do have is what we're doing right now, is our voice, is in our conversation, is in our vote, right? They tricked us into thinking that none of that stuff matters. So now we have to have a resurgence of us actually fighting to get the power back. That's why one of the organizations up here is Power of the People First. Power of the people first, because we do have the power. We could collectively run and change the whole world if we stood together. But the last time we seen 1 million black men come together was the Million Man March. We haven't seen 1 million black brothers come together after that, right? We as people still have so many labels, so many divisive labels that keep us from coming together because we stay focusing on our own individual groups, how we personally identify, instead of us all identifying as one thing, human. We are human, right? We could all fall under that one umbrella, but instead we create all of these micro umbrellas to separate us. And that's how they get us to lose our power. See, I use the analogy of like when you put sticks together, right? If I got one stick or one pencil, it's real easy for me to break one pencil. You know what I'm saying? But if I reinforce that pencil with 3 or 4 other pencils stacked against them, it becomes harder to break. And if I put enough pencils on there, it becomes virtually impossible for me to break it without having a bigger force. So that's a lesson in life too. That's a science lesson in life too that applies everywhere. The more people you have together collectively fighting together, we are stronger. That's why Jackson Strength Network is a network. Because eventually how I see Jackson Strength Network becoming is a network where we have people on every portion of the web. Like I see it as a spider web, right? I'm not in control of everything. I don't run everything. And that's not what a network is. A network is where if you need something, we can connect you to the person that does. So inside the network, we're going to have professionals. So if you need a mental health, we got someone for you. Child care advocate, there's someone in the network there for you. These are all professionals that'll be specialized in their craft. So a network of people coming together, making sure that we are a strong force. That's what I envision Jackson Strength Network to be. It'll be a family, a community of people all working together to accomplish a goal. That's what we need, to come together and join force and use our collective voice. Because together our voice is stronger. Together our vote is stronger. Like you'll see this all across politics. I mean, if we wanted to, we can get the people in office that we want. If we wanted to, we can get the policies and things pushed across the tables if we wanted to. But we need enough of us speaking on it. Because one thing about these politicians, they tricks. Excuse my language, but they tricks. Y'all familiar with the streets? Y'all know what a trick is. They'll do whatever. They'll do whatever for your vote. They'll do whatever for your vote. If they know that you ain't voting, they don't care. They ain't got to do nothing for you. And that's how they traditionally play us. But when they know that you voting, they come right to see you. And I've experienced this firsthand. I've sat in rooms. I've sat in the Democratic committee, and I've seen how every Democratic candidate that want to run for office, they got to come through there. The NAACP. Any candidate that comes through, they got to stop to the NAACP because they know the NAACP gonna bring voters out. They bring support. So when the politicians know that you voting, they come to see you. They come to see you. I don't care what they is, whether Republican, Democrat, socialist, whatever. If they know that you are voting and you care about a topic, they're going to make that high priority. And we've seen that in this election. We've seen that. They piggyback all the fears, everything that people scared of. They're going to steal your jobs. So they're going to harp on that forever. because it's easy. So we, as people, we could use that power and say, you know what? You ain't gonna get my support, man. You ain't gonna get my vote unless you're willing to talk about prison reform. You know what? You're not gonna get my vote unless we talk about fair housing for all and safe access for everybody. You're not gonna get my dollar until you start being more equitable with these prices. That's the power we have. But we as people don't use it. If everybody stopped buying Jordans today, like literally everybody, just stop buying Jordans today. Jordans, iPhones, all of that. Just stop buying it today. Every company in the world will lower their prices immediately. Immediately lower their prices. Why? Because they're going to be like, damn, what the hell? Y'all not buying nothing. Y'all not buying nothing. We have that power, but we relinquish that power by falling in that slave mindset, that beehive, easily controlled mindset. This is what they indoctrinate us on. But God says to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The renewing of your mind means it changes the way you think. Changing the way you think. Change the way you think. Transform yourself. Transform society. Because as long as we're under this system of capitalism, somebody's going to get rich and somebody is going to be poor. That's just the facts, man. That's how it goes, man. Thanks for listening to me today, man, on this rant. It's been a great episode. It's glad to be back, man. Stay tuned because the Returning Neighbors podcast will be back, and we'll be back with more episodes of Community Soldier as we go on our 5th season. It's been great. If you would like to sponsor the show, if you'd like to have a commercial played on the show, reach out to us. We got very affordable packages starting off at $25. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Thank you, and y'all have a great day.
Forever rolling. Judge. Instrumental murderer. You already know what time it is. Gangway. We the team. For sure. Look. I've been really trying to get it, but them people got their handle in my business. Let's go. People say I need to listen, but the way I be too busy flipping, gotta change the way I'm living. Yes, these enemies ain't no friends to me. They Hennessy, get them froggy, they gon' rest in peace. They testing me, pray to God that they let me be. My family need a leader, so I'm staying free. Keep it legal, I spit the leaf flows. 36 can play the game just like Otebo. Just follow me though, just let the streets know. Jersey master with the craft, know he keep the heat.